Hello and welcome back to the Thought Leader Group podcast. I'm Sam Violet, and today I'm joined by Julia Arpag, CEO and founder at Aligned Recruitment. Julia, welcome to the show.
Sam, thank you for having me. I so appreciate it.
Julia, I know you launched Alignment back in August 2023.
Exactly.
Crazy recent, right? Could you just walk us through how you actually got here from your background? And yeah, I know your story of being laid off and then, founding this thriving, profitable company.
Yeah, it's been a crazy road, Sam. Happy to tell the stories. Yes, we're recording this here in August 2025. So, yes, 2 years ago in August 2023, I launched Aligned Recruitment off the heels of being laid off 5 weeks after my son was born. So, I had a newborn, I had a toddler, and I had two teenage foster sons, and no idea what I was going to do next. I was very, very fortunate that I got a couple job offers from different clients of mine who I'd worked with in the past. And I actually took one of them initially because the thought of launching a business was terrifying. But I'd had this itch for about a year at that point where I knew how much my recruitment firm charged. And then I knew how much I was making. And I was like, there's a huge disconnect here. Like, I'm a top performer. I could be making a lot more if I just went out on my own. So, actually, an old colleague of mine approached me and asked me to co found Aligned Recruitment. She was like, I'm thinking like 5 hours a week, no big deal, super casual. Like, we don't even have any clients. Like, she'd thrown up a website and had no clients. She was like, it's like nothing. And I was like, sure, I'll do this, whatever. It took off. It absolutely took off. Like, we signed our first client retainer. We signed our first retainer client within a month. We signed a 200K annual retainer the month after that. And then, like, the retainers just kept coming. So by month 3, I circled back to that offer I had accepted. I hadn't started yet because I was still on maternity leave. And I was like, hey, I'm so sorry, but I'm going to go all in on this business. And they became our third client. So it all worked out. It all totally worked out. So it's really just been a crazy ride. Like, the momentum has just never stopped. And actually, that initial co-founder, candidly, so like I said, when I joined, she had no sales, no revenue. That remained the case. Like, even once I joined, her total revenue accounted for less than 1%. So after a year, I approached her and I was like, listen, this is not an equitable partnership. We're splitting profits 50-50, but I've brought in 99.9% of the revenue. Like, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to go our separate ways. So I bought her out. So I've been running the business on my own for the past year, which has really accelerated everything. Like, I've been able to really do everything on my own terms, really dictate the direction of the company, really dictate the quality that we're providing for our clients. And it's just been a crazy, wonderful, beautiful ride.
Yeah, amazing story. Yeah, it feels like you've leaned heavily into values. Yeah, from your mission driven hiring to being foster parents, donating profits. Was that always central to your vision or did it evolve?
Percent. No, from day one, I was like, there's obviously a lot of risk that goes into building a business, and there's a lot of things that are very hard. So to make it worth it, I was like, I'm going to build a company that is completely aligned with who I am as a person. And I'm not going to cut off parts of myself. Like, I get to build my own brand, I get to build my own vision, and I'm not going to compromise that at all. So, yeah, I'm very transparent about being a Christian, about being a foster mom, about the fact that my husband and my kids come first. And that's just been baked into our company culture from day one.
Amazing. So tell me, what's the secret sauce for attracting exceptional tech talent? What's your pitch? What's your approach?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, people always say recruitment is sales. I respectfully disagree. I think that sales is significantly harder than recruitment. So, candidly, I've been a top performer at every company I've worked at for my entire recruitment career. And I found that what's always worked really well to attract top talent is A players gravitate towards A players. So, because I've always been at the top of my field, it's a pretty easy conversation with a top tier principal software engineer because they kind of see the hustle and they respect it. Like, I get a lot of people that respond to my DMs and they're like, wow, like, you speak very differently than most of the recruiters that I hear from. I'm very blunt, I'm very direct. I almost always include compensation in my very first message to the candidate, often in the subject line, because I'm like, listen, this is ultimately not the only way that you're going to make your decision about where you go next, but it is going to matter quite a bit. And I only work with startups who understand that and understand they have to be at the top of the market if they want to attract the top talent in the market. So that's how I attract top candidates. And sales, like I said, is much harder than recruitment. So when I started the business 2 years ago, that was my first time ever selling. I've never sold a single thing to anyone ever. I've never run a 360 recruitment desk. I've never pitched a client. Literally, I haven't even sold like a pen. Like I didn't know how to sell anything to anyone. So step one is I hired a genius executive coach, Diane Prince, who started and sold multiple businesses, one for $28 million, a staffing business back, I think like 20 years ago or so now. So she taught me everything I know. And really what it came down to was the exact same way I built the business, like as a human who was very honest about who I am and what I value. That is what I think differentiates us when I do outreach. I rely a lot on my personal brand on LinkedIn. Like, I'm very transparent on LinkedIn. You know a lot of my story, you know a lot of my company story just from reading my posts. So that makes people warm leads because they already know me. Like, so once I reach out, it's not a cold call, it's not a cold DM. They already have seen my content and they know who I am. So every day I go through the people who engaged with my posts, the people who viewed my profile, and the people who connected with me. And anyone who is in my ICP, so director level or higher at a tech company, that's who I directly DM. And I leave a voice note so they know like I'm a real person. I'm not a robot. I'm not an AI bot like spamming you with DMs. I'm an actual human. And I just tell them, something I admire about them, something I love about their background. And I offer to jump on a call with them to talk about how my firm can help grow theirs.
Yeah, it's an amazing approach. And we've actually had Diane on this podcast as well. She's super
Good. She's a
helpful.
genius. She's the
Yeah,
best of the best. I'm so glad you've already hired her. That's awesome.
yeah, she's the boss for sure. You've clearly kind of leaned into, when I say referrals and relationships. Is there any kind of unconventional sourcing strategies you've leaned into that surprised you?
So a lot of people tell me they don't get many voice DMs on LinkedIn. A lot of my prospects are like, wow, you're the first DM I've ever gotten on here that's just an audio message. One woman actually literally said, she was like, I get why you've been so successful. I am a CEO and founder, and I've never before had someone prospect me this way,
Really?
even though she gets inundated with prospects every single day. Yeah. So I think that's been huge. And as far as the referral piece, so as I mentioned earlier, a lot of my early clients were just former clients who I'd worked with previously. So just honestly being a good recruiter before I became a founder is the hack, quote unquote. Like just wherever you are, just be excellent at it. And that is going to automatically attract, like I said earlier, like about candidates, hustle attracts hustle. So by being good at what I do, by prioritizing excellence above all else, that's one of our values here at Aligned Recruitment is excellence. And I don't tolerate anything less than that on my team. So whether it's me or one of my recruiters who's actually doing the delivery for one of our clients, they get excellent service.
And what's giving you the biggest pause in the current recruiting landscape? Is there any trends or shifts you're watching closely or even worried about?
Nothing I'm worried about. I am definitely always researching the newest AI options. Like anything I can do to expedite sourcing, I'm going to do. So I'm not jumping on the AI screening bandwagon. I think it is creepy as heck to be interviewed by a robot. So we do not do that here at Alliance Recruitment. But anything I can do to make my sourcers and my recruiters more efficient on the headhunting side. So right now we're exploring a collaboration with Juicebox. We're having one of our operations managers look into Noon AI right now. So lots of options, lots of really good traction out there. I'm personally pumped about all the AI sourcing options because if I can free up my team's time to do the higher octane stuff of actually vetting candidates, getting them on the phone, negotiating offers with them, that's what actually drives revenue. So if I can get the front end to move more efficiently, then we can just freaking kill it on the back end even more than we already are.
Yeah, for sure. And looking ahead, if we fast forward a few years, what's the vision for Align Recruitment and what are you building towards?
That's a really good question. So we just passed the 1 million revenue mark, which I'm super excited about. We were able to get there in less than 2 years as a business. So I'm very, very proud of that. So I used to have specific revenue goals where I was like, I have to get to this number by this date or I failed. And then I read this book called The Gap and the Gain. And he talks about how a lot of A players, a lot of founders, CEOs, entrepreneurs think that way. Like we achieve something amazing, but we can't even appreciate it because we're always hunting for the next audacious goal. And so he encouraged me to view my life in terms of gains, like what I've already accomplished, what I've already done, and just stay in celebration mode. Like stay in, my gosh, look at where we were and look at where we are now. What a victory. What a win. This is amazing. So that's what I've tried to lean into. I've tried to lean into, okay, my goal moving forward is just that we remain profitable. We've been bootstrapped and profitable since day one. So I want to stay there and then keep operating within our company values. Those are literally my only two goals.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And this is a good question to ask. Is if you had a magic wand, is there anything you would fix or change right now in how tech startups attract or retain people?
Man, yeah,
Yeah,
that's a great question. I'm like, where do I start? So, okay, let me say our clients are amazing. Like, we are very, very fortunate that we also attract values based companies because we're very transparent about being values based. So that's huge. But I know that a lot of startups aren't values based in their hiring and they really just hire people who can do the job on paper. And then they end up having culture clashes. So I think that's why you see so many people that have these really short stints at tech companies, because I think they quickly realize on both sides, this is not a fit. Like, we don't value the same things. We don't work the same way. Like, there's one startup I talked to recently who was very transparent, which power to them. I really respected this and I wish more startups did this. They were like, listen, we work 100 hours a week. We all live in Manhattan. We're in the office or working at home basically every waking moment of our lives. So those are the only candidates we're willing to entertain. We ended up not working together since that's not aligned with the way I work and the way that I want to encourage my candidates to work. But I think that is an ideal posture to have as a startup leader where you're like, listen, this is who we are. This is how we work. I think just being super transparent about that from day one is the best way to hire.
yeah, sure. And do you have any like specific stories or anything? Maybe someone you hired who just stood out and just made it click for you as a candidate?
Oh my gosh, yes. I just hired a head of marketing for an ed tech startup. And that was one of my favorite searches because I had actually connected with her months previously. I was hiring a head of demand generation at a cybersecurity startup, a different client of mine. And she was incredible. She was so good that she got an offer and ultimately turned it down because she got a different offer for a different company that was like a 60K increase on the base. So I got it. No hard feelings. We stayed in touch. But she circled back to me and she was like, I made a terrible mistake. I should have gone with that offer. The money's not worth it. This place is psychotic. So she circled back at the exact same moment that I opened up that head of marketing role at that ed tech company. So I was like, okay, that other company already hired someone else, but I have this opportunity for you that I think could work. And because I already knew she was a freaking rock star, we expedited the interview process, got her in with the client ASAP. They made her an offer 3 weeks after we launched the role. So that was one of my favorite things that ever happened ever in my recruitment career because I just knew she was amazing. I knew the client would love her. And I knew she had had the experience of making the wrong choice because she was solely chasing money. So I knew she was in a good spot to understand I value the company, I value the leadership, I value the compensation, but more than that, I value the overall fit. So it was like a perfect moment, a perfect combination of factors. That was such a win. I loved that.
Yeah, that must have felt great. You often talk about alignment, purpose, business, and values. Is there any personal benchmarks or guiding questions that keeps you on track when things get messy?
Yes, yes, lots of guiding principles. So, number one, my faith guides everything I do. I pray every day. I ask God for a lot of guidance about the business. I prayed a lot about even starting the business. I prayed a lot about buying out my co-founder. I even pray about pricing. Like, I'm very transparent with my faith on LinkedIn, and really the way that manifests is I ask God a lot of questions throughout the day. So that's been huge. And then another guiding principle for me is my family. So I've already shared I'm not a burnout grind kind of founder. I prioritize spending time with my kids. I still have very, very young children. My sons are 2 and 4. And so I spend a ton of time with them. I have literally never worked more than 40 hours a week. And typically I work more like 30 because I really do prioritize the time with them. So that's been a huge guiding principle for me, where if something takes me away from them for too long, I say no to it. So that's my number one priority. That comes way above revenue for me, which is why, like I said, my goals are just to remain profitable and to operate in line with my values.
Whatever you're doing, it's working. So yeah, fair play to you.
I'm happy with it. I'm
Yeah,
like, hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix
yeah,
it, right? I
absolutely.
feel good about it.
And if someone's sitting here right now, maybe a founder or a candidate listening, what's the one takeaway or invitation you'd leave with?
Oh my gosh. So for a fellow founder, I would say don't give up. Like, I talk to so many founders who are so discouraged because what they've done so far isn't working. So I would say number one, hire an executive coach. Like that changed my business. I didn't know how to sell. So rather than be like, well, I just can't bring in any revenue, I found someone who knew how to bring in revenue and then just did exactly what they told me to do. So that's my advice for a founder who's listening in on this right now. And then for someone who is wanting to be hired, I would say always be networking, obviously. Don't wait to get laid off. Don't wait for the tech scene to plummet again. We're always going into like little mini recessions within tech. So I would say do not wait around. Be an excellent practitioner of your craft in your current position. Like don't half ass it just because you're looking for jobs, but always be connecting with people. And then if you're looking to hire, I would say the same thing. Like I would always be looking at like who's on our team now, what are the gaps we have, what do we need to hire next? And then I would proactively start researching recruitment firms and start researching options and people that you know can get your team to where it needs to be.
Amazing advice right there. Where can they connect with you, and how can they connect with Alliance Recruitment?
Great question. So I'm actually the only Julia Arpag on LinkedIn. So you can feel free to connect with me there. And then our website is just alignedrecruitment.com. So go ahead and check us out there. Check out our mission, our vision, our values, our client testimonials, a lot of good stuff on there.
Amazing. Thanks so much, Julia. It's been a great conversation. Yeah, really happy to have you on.
Thanks for having me, Sam. It was such a pleasure.
Cheers. Thank you.